when they had an issue with the mayor and the council over something as simple as erecting a war memorial on a reserve. And even though there'd been a plebiscite where 198 of 213 ratepayers in, they call it Clinton now, as you may have noticed, agreed to have this memorial placed at this reserve. And it was, I don't know if you've been there and if you've seen it, because it's there now. Perfect spot to have a memorial to commemorate Anzac Day or November the 11th. Perfect spot. But a bloke across the road thought that this memorial was going to impact on his views. Now that is the most shameful thing I've ever heard. And when the community asked me to go and give some assistance, of course we started, pulling some levers, and it was just simply outrageous. I think the moment they got wind that it was going to go on national television, that it was going to shame the council for what they did, they quickly reversed it. Now there's a beautiful memorial down there, and I think the townspeople are over the moon that they've got something that they're proud of. And now it's a spot where people coming down the Yorke Peninsula can stop and look at the memorial, enjoy the view, and appreciate what went there. And that was all thanks, and I'll tell you how it worked, right? And this is where I think you people need to take note of what happened there. There was a campaign that was started by the local person that runs the caravan park there, Dusty Miller. I don't know if you know Dusty. Yep. Terrific bloke, an Afghanistan veteran, and he just wanted to contribute something to the community to remember returned servicemen. And he thought he wanted something a little bit better than what they had, which is basically a Besser brick hall with a painting on it in the main street. Now that was just, okay, it served them well for a number of years, but no, certainly it was time to move on and have something special. And of course that then led to the council getting involved. They knocked it back, and then there was a plebiscite that was run in conjunction with the Electoral Commission, and it was overwhelming in support of it, but the council still rejected it. It was appalling. Anyway, next step is Dusty has called a public meeting, and residents came from everywhere, just like you have here today. And at that meeting, I expressed my dismay at what the council was doing. Now, it might seem like a trivial issue, knocking back a memorial, but it's actually very important to local communities. Right? Anzac Day, November the 11th, remembering our servicemen is what is the fabric of our society, and in our regions especially, to remember the sacrifices that were made by young men and also women that volunteered from the regions. And Clinton's a small town, but so what? That was symbolic of this country remembering its servicemen. But you had a council that was listening to one ratepayer, and avoiding the needs and the wishes of its community. You can't have that. It's all about engagement and engaging with your community. On that little issue, they didn't engage. We had, I think it was nearly a couple hundred people that came that day. And I said to them one thing: you live in a democracy. You've got a vote. You have to exercise your vote. You've also got a voice. You need to exercise your voice. People power is important. The more voices, the more people that complain to this council, you win. And so they complained. They sent emails. And they tried to call. They called the council. They were going to go to a meeting. And in numbers, they were going to go to that council and have their voice heard and let the council listen to what they were doing. And of course the council backed off straight away. So that is a victory for people power. And that shows you that you do have power. You can. As a united voice, you can do something. If you're not happy with your council and your elected representatives, whether they be in local government, state or federal, you've got the power of the ballot box. Now, unfortunately, in local government, it's not compulsory voting, right? It's voluntary. And there's a lot of apathy in communities in going out and voting. I can say that that isn't reflected in regional communities, because regional communities certainly band together, they know each other and they know what's important to them, and they respect the process, and you need to continue to do that. Now, clearly you're here because you are unhappy with what's been going on with your council. All right? I'll get into the Adam Meyer thing in a moment. But firstly, after that preface about you do have power, you do have a voice, and you need to express that voice, and whether you do it through your local representatives, your local council, your local councillors, your local member of parliament. We've got Fraser here, and I'll welcome Fraser here, the member for Narunga. I'm here, I'm a member of the Legislative Council. My electorate is the entire state. So if people need my help, I'm happy to go wherever to represent them and be a voice for them. I want to congratulate Ian Marcos and the Ratepayers. And, is it on? There we go. There we go.
Thanks.
I want to congratulate Ian Marcos and the Ratepayers Association. How's that? Too close?
Yeah.
Thank you. Sound like course over there. I want to congratulate the Ratepayers Association and Ian Marcos. Now, it's terrific that you've got somebody like Ian. I've known Ian a long time. You could not have a more powerful voice representing your community than Ian Marcos. Right? You should be happy to actually have somebody of this calibre there, and somebody that doesn't take shit. Right? I'm not going to use that word because that's what it all is with Yorke Peninsula Council. I'll describe it as a shit show after the way that they treated Councillor Adam Meyer. I've never seen anything like that. This is a democracy. People have a right to express themselves, whether you agree with them or not. People have a right to ask questions. They have a right to ask questions of the administration of their council. That's what you elected Adam Meyer to do. You elected him to go in there, represent your community. You went in there, you put him in there to investigate, to question, and inform you of what's going on in council. Not have a member in there who is going to be, firstly, just silenced, threatened, and then sent to a behavioural panel, a behavioural panel where he ends up being suspended and fined. And then when you look at what happened in that process, there was no due process for it. No due process. It was a kangaroo court, and clearly it just had the stench of a witch hunt because some people were uncomfortable with what Councillor Meyer was doing. He was asking hard questions. And when you see the questions that he was asking, no different than any questions that I or Fraser asked in Parliament. Now imagine if we got up and in Parliament and then suddenly I'd ask a question of a member or a bureaucrat or whatever, seeking some answers, and then suddenly my questions aren't answered because they don't want to answer them. And also, the person who's subject to those questions starts to claim that it's going to harm his mental well-being. I mean, seriously. What are you there for? What are we there for? Why is a CEO paid that amount of money and manages such a big budget and is afraid to answer questions related to a situation that certainly warrants an integrity investigation? What he was asking for were answers to try and clarify a situation that the council is refusing to give information on. Every person in this room that's a ratepayer has an entitlement to know about that process and what went on with that property. And that's what Adam was doing. He was doing his job as elected representative of this community. It's a disgrace and shameful that a mayor would actually refuse to answer questions or give directions about answering questions that are put on notice by members. Again, I'll go to Parliament. We ask questions without notice when we're sitting, and you throw them at ministers and the government, and you expect a response from them. We put questions on notice, and we expect and get a response. I've never heard of a council doing this. Right? This tells me something's wrong and warrants an investigation. So, even though it's been knocked back by the Ombudsman and you had the decision by the panel, I'm not going to let it go. Right? I've seen what has gone on, and I've got information that says it warrants a review and another investigation by an integrity agency. Further, I'll be writing not only to an integrity agency, but I'll also be going to the Auditor General and others, and also seeking an investigation into the conduct of the administration here at Yorke Peninsula Council. And I think it's time somebody had a look at the books as well. And look at the books. That has to happen. That really has to happen. So, I'm certainly going to support Councillor Meyer in getting to the bottom of this. I'm putting in freedom of information, and I'm hoping to get the documents he's been denied. Now, this was the other disgraceful thing that happened at the with the Behavioural Standards panel, is that all documents were not disclosed to that panel. And Adam was not given due process. It's almost as if they believed the complaint that was lodged by the mayor and didn't believe him. Now that to me is a kangaroo court, right? And he has a right of review. Now, the Behavioural Standards panel has been there for a relatively short period of time. Now, I raised my concerns about the panel and what happened with Adam to the LGA themselves, to the LGA CEO. And I was told that, look, there were 3 lawyers that are on there. They tried to say, oh, well, the 3 lawyers, they must know what they're doing. Well, okay, lawyers do know what they're doing most of the time, and particularly when they are given information before them to assess the situation, except they weren't given all the information this time. And that's the thing that I find quite objectionable, is that full disclosure was not made, and I don't think that Councillor Meyer got a fair go here. And this is all about getting a fair go. Furthermore, that judgment by the panel damaged his reputation in this community. Without a doubt. He's a policeman, he's well respected in this community, he mixes with people in this community, he has friends in this community, but that judgment damaged him and his reputation unfairly, and that shouldn't have happened. And particularly when you now know that there wasn't full disclosure of documents and other things in relation to what he was doing.
I just cannot, I'm shaking my head still when I see the questions and why he was asking them, that he would be denied that. And then to have a CEO use the screen of, oh, he's hurting me, he's attacking me and it's having an impact on my mental health. Seriously? Imagine the Premier, the opposition leader, politicians, oh, don't ask that question, you're damaging me. It's impacting on my mental health. But what's worse, no evidence was presented to the panel about that. There was no assessment from a medical professional that had occurred. It was just what the Mayor had told the panel. And that's why I'm of the belief that it was a witch hunt. And it was purely designed to go after and damage and silence Councillor Meyer, and in turn put fear into other councillors on that council from doing the same thing. That's the summary, to be quite honest, is basically to, I'll take the questions in a minute, basically to have other councillors feel a bit, restrained in asking some hard questions now, and probably remaining silent. Well, I can say there's some councillors in here, please do not take that, what happened there, as an indication that you should not be asking hard questions. You must. You must for your community, because that's what you're elected for. So that disappoints me, what happened there. And what can we do about it in Parliament? We can. There's lots we can do. Not only can we raise it publicly, but we can also ask for inquiries and reviews. Now, as Ian mentioned, the Behavioural Standards Panel is a statutory body. It's a statutory body. Now, one of the things we're going to be exploring, I'll be exploring when I get back, is to have this panel be called before one of our parliamentary committees, the Statutory Authorities Review Committee. I'm hoping we can. I'll have a look and see if they are covered under the legislation. So they come before a group of parliamentarians who will grill them about what's going on. But as the LGA said, they are now reviewing the panel and trying to determine, how effective it is and whether they need to make changes or, see how best they can improve upon it. But clearly, Councillor Meyer was the first that has suffered this indignity of being publicly shamed by this panel. And I don't think that's the intention. And it shouldn't be the intention. We know that there are some councillors and councillors where there's some appalling behaviour. The standards are poor in a lot of councils because there's a lot of infighting, you have a lot of political interference, and some councillors cannot help themselves and certainly deserve to be brought before administrators. I've seen worse conduct in councils like Burnside, City of Adelaide, or Adelaide Enfield, Charleston, Uncle Paringa, elsewhere, worst examples of what this is. This is about a bloke who just simply wanted answers for his community. One of his constituents asked him to find questions, to find answers to questions. And this is how they punish him. Outrageous. And that can't happen. So there are ways that we can do it. Sadly, we no longer have Jeff Rock as the local government minister. Many of you would know of Jeff and his strong local government experience and his passion for local government. We were in the process of reviewing the Local Government Act, and when Jeff resigned, it just seemed to fall to the wayside. The Labor government decided it wouldn't make it a priority to review this act, even though there'd been a lot of consultation with parliamentarians about the best ways to improve it. I've got some ideas that I've put to that review. Among them is compulsory voting, which I don't know whether you agree with it, you may not agree with it, but I think we need it in local government now. You've got administrators, you've got councils that are dealing in huge budgets, and, you know, the community as well are interested in how that money is spent. They're also having to pay enormous rates, and they want to know, are they getting bang for their buck? And I think when you have situations